to Bodacious Estate Conversations, the podcast where we skip the polite small talk and get straight to the real story about handling a loved one's property. From unexpected challenges to the messy emotions nobody warns you about, I bring you unfiltered stories, practical advice, and clever shortcuts from people who've been there and the professionals who know the way. If you want honest answers, bold strategies, and the confidence to take control, you're in the right place. Here is your host, Casey King.
Thanks for tuning in. On today's episode of Bodacious Estate Conversations, I'm excited to chat with a leader who spends his days helping families navigate one of the hardest transitions in life, caring for an aging loved one. Our guest has spent over 13 years in the home care industry, working directly with franchise owners, caregivers, and families across the country. He contributes to publications, leads innovation around AI and aging care, and supports Griswold Home Care, one of the longest standing, most respected home care organizations in the United States, with 43 years in business and 240 locations across 33 states. Outside of work, he's a car enthusiast, a DIY project guy, and somebody who deeply understands what today's caregivers, especially millennials, are up against. Well, let's give a warm welcome to Matt Ericksen. I'm so thrilled to have you on Bodacious Estate Conversations, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Casey, for having me. Excited to be here and to talk with you.
Yeah, truly my pleasure. So today we're going to be diving into the future of aging care, what's broken, what's changing, and how families can better support loved ones who want to stay in the home safely for as long as possible. We're also going to be talking through caregiver shortages, hybrid care models. You're going to want to listen to this. How caregivers and AI innovation can reduce hospitalizations and lower family costs. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around until the end because Matt's going to share the single biggest financial mistake families make during care transitions and how avoiding it could save thousands a year. All right, Matt, you ready for this?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So families who are suddenly thrown into the role of caregiver or maybe power of attorney, the home care landscape can feel super overwhelming. What are the biggest challenges people don't realize they're walking into when a loved one suddenly needs care at home?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that we look at it and we understand where everybody comes from. A lot of people that work at Griswold, not only whether it's at the corporate office here or the directors, we all have personally been impacted by the aging of our loved ones, and it only increases in that, right? I myself personally am going through it with my grandmother, right? So speaking directly from that experience is, my parents, the loved ones surrounding my grandmother, right? And it's a direct reflection of at scale what our customer base sees is a first-time customer. They don't know what they don't know, and they don't know what questions to ask. They don't. They look to clinicians, doctors, discharge planners as, pre-vetted and to trust everything that individual says. Well, most of the time you can, not saying not to, but you need a question to make sure that's actually the best interest of your loved one and the family dynamics. And to do all this in a very, very short amount of time, depending on the diagnosis or the situation, discharge windows are very, very short. There's not a lot of time to plan, and that compounds a problem about you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, right on. So tell me a little bit about the company. And I know it's a wide array of the different services that you're able to provide, but what does that kind of look like for a typical client?
Sure. Griswold's been around for 43 years. It was founded in 1983, just outside of here in Philadelphia. And, providing that personal companion care is what we specialize in. And the delivery of that care is really where, we can make an impact in, the situations I just described. And expand upon that question for me. Just help me make sure I stay on point there for you.
Yeah. So if somebody's coming in home to give that care, that personal touch, what kind of duties would they entail? Is it playing cards? Is it cooking or bathing or a little bit of everything?
Yeah, it can be everything you named and more. And so where we really focus, the caregivers are particularly trained on and continue their training is on what we call activities of daily living, or ADLs, and then independent activities of daily living, IADLs, right? And so, what does that mean? It means essentially companion care. So hands-off care where we can play cards, we can engage, really, break down isolation, loneliness, really help. Somebody may not be physically declining, but they could be mentally, and the companionship can be critical in helping to offset the premature brain aging process or the decline of an individual, just through conversation and stimulation there. Now, say somebody has a diagnosis or seems to be aging, physically, that's where the personal care side comes into things, where we can help them maintain a higher quality of life through, better hygiene practices, ensuring medication reminders, making sure that they're, addressed appropriately, they get that shower, we reduce the risk factors that go into what causes falls, what causes injuries in the home, while that senior struggles to maintain independence through the aging process. Our caregivers come in on the personal care side and can help minimize those risk windows where that individual is trying to maintain that independence.
Oh, that's interesting. So if somebody signs on with you, is the initial consultation, are you like doing a walkthrough of the home and seeing like, okay, what modifications need made to make sure that this is a safe environment?
Yep. So we really pride ourselves on our what we call our intakes, our home visits, or evaluations. And I mean, every good upstanding home care company is and should be doing these. And so I wouldn't say it's unique to us, but it's the consistent execution of these, and the advocacy that we like to layer on top of that. That I do think makes us different. We start off the visit with a home safety evaluation, and this ties directly into you don't know what you don't know, right? So, perfect example being individual has a stroke and may have been completely independent and stable prior to the hospitalization. Coming out of that, though, that doesn't hold true, and they may have stability issues. Well, a throw rug, it's one of the number one reasons for a fall, or a tile floor in a bathroom, right? That was not an issue prior to the hospitalization, is now is a major issue. But families are that's a small nuanced detail that families don't catch early. And we make sure to evaluate, look for particular things like that to bring up and raise attention to, as part of something that to either change or modify the care setting, to make sure safety. And then we also look at we have an evaluation question panel, essentially, that we go through based off the needs of the family to layer in care delivery in that home environment, whether it's restricting the individual to certain rooms of the home or so forth. And so we blend both from a risk mitigation, a safety enhancement standpoint, with the actual care delivery from a compassion standpoint, and personal care standpoint as needed, to bring together really the kind of a holistic approach to ultimately improving quality of life and keep them out of the hospital.
For sure. I think that's so important. So a lot of times once I get involved, it's actually because they're transitioning to assisted living because the families can't provide that support that you're describing on their own. So it's amazing to be able to have the option to hire somebody to come in and take care of that for them. A lot of times what I see, because I am on the back end when they're transitioning out, but sometimes it's harder for older individuals once they get to a certain decline in their health to actually utilize closets and drawers. And it sounds kind of funny, but what would happen then is they start stacking things. So there will be piles of things instead of like having them in drawers and cupboards and cabinets. And I mean, that itself has to be a safety risk for falls, trips and falls, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Clutter, anything, behavior pattern shift or behavior, perhaps negative or not ideal behaviors that existed prior to, say, a decline or a step down in one's independence, can be enhanced. So if you were a hoarder or you like to keep, a lot of things, clutter, it only gets worse, unfortunately, in the aging process. And that only enhances the risk. And our caregivers can help keep on top of that or organize. That is part of the I would say the uniqueness that we bring to the table. And asking families, hey, what would you like to see? What do what helps, mom or dad stay independent and happy? And that's key. Is one can be independent and unhappy. One can be independent and happy. And we look to have both, that satisfaction at the end of the shift when the caregiver leaves, as well as the family feeling that their individuals maintaining that safety and independence and still in the environment that individual wants to live.
Yeah. I think the companionship is just amazing in itself. Like you said, it keeps the cognitive decline from happening. And I keep thinking back, and I can't remember the exact name of the show, but Netflix had a series about blue zones, and that was one of the things within the blue zones that was a common thread, was having a community, a partnership. Like, these people talked to other individuals. They didn't shut themselves in and just watch TV all day. It's the opposite of that. It's having those conversations and playing games and everything that you're describing.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that is it's an overlooked, it's an underappreciated element to the delivery of care, because it's not so much physical. You can't see it, you can't feel it, but you certainly, when you look at the trend of one's cognitive decline or stability, with a senior, and you look at it, say, quarter over quarter, if you look at it year to year, someone that elects to bring in companion care earlier to engage their loved one versus somebody that, doesn't, that, and a lot of times it's, you're trying to tell the person that raised you that now roles are reversed and now you're taking care of them, trying to essentially tell them, no, you need this. A lot of daughters and sons are they're out of respect. They're gonna honor their father or their mother's wishes. Unfortunately, to the point where it injures their loved one, and that's where we don't see companion care come in as early as it should be, because of out of respect for their loved one. The loved one doesn't want that, but this, again, as a majority of first-time customers, in retrospect, a lot of them wish, I wish we pushed back a little harder, and we did get to the point we are at now. And there's that regret, which nobody wants regret.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually tell this story frequently of a past client of mine. Dad passed away a year prior. Mom was living on her own for a full year, and it was mostly a ranch home. So everything, for the most part, was on one level. I think laundry might have been in the basement, but everything else was on one level. And the adult children lived out of state. So she did have a little bit of a community where she lived. Like, her neighbors would come pop in every once in a while and check on her. But that was mostly it. And her son got a call from the water company, surprisingly, due to overusage. And he tried calling his mom, couldn't get a hold of her, and drove up from where he lived and found her on the floor. Luckily, she was okay. All things considered, she was okay. But she was on the floor for over a day. And if the water wasn't turned on and the water company didn't catch the overusage, like, who knows how long that would have went on.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the scary part of things, and that's where we're really excited about some of the innovative care delivery models that we have here that speak to those exact situations and mitigate that risk and catch it way sooner, so we don't have that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you talked about AI innovations. Tell me about that. What does that look like?
So it's so wide ranging, and I always like to preface when we talk about AI is, there's a lot of different types of it. There's AI tools that we use internally here as far as just increase our operational efficiencies and our day-to-day business practices, and then there's those AI tools that are more forward-facing, that are directly placed in patients' homes, and really what we call remote monitoring. That where the AI is not, it's not writing an email for you, but it's interpreting the information that the remote monitoring pods or units are feeding it, right? And so, Griswold has a variety of different remote monitoring technologies or hardware that can be placed in the home of individuals, ranging from everything that are take in the sound and interpret sound, to infrared, to using just signals, almost like kind of like radar, and it can locate, where the individual's patterns, lack of movement, frantic movement, especially with the ones that were that take in audio. The AI has been trained in one particular hardware. It's been trained by dementia therapists, by clinicians, so that way it's not just like listening to everybody's conversations, but it's the AI is interpreting the signals to identify sounds, whether it's a fall, whether it's a distress, whether it's an ouch, whether it's it's a sound that would be indicative of an injury or discomfort, and it can capture that, timestamp it, and provide alerts in real time, near real time, so that that loved one's not sitting on the floor for a day. Where if they fall within minutes, the loved ones and the care provider, the Griswold that provides that care and that hardware, is aware and can react in very quick time to mitigate any potentially more life-threatening or long-term effects from that incident.
That's so interesting. So I'm picturing like an Alexa sitting in the living room, listening for things. So let's say it heard like a fall, what you just described. What would it do? Would it try to talk to the individual? Like, would it ask, "Are you okay?" and then respond, or would it automatically alert?
It would just automatically alert. It would send. And there's different tiers for alerts, which is nice, so that you're not, it's not like crying wolf every time. That there's different alerts for stuff that to be aware of, and then there's emergency alerts, right? And the emergency alerts, you can set a customized threshold of who it goes to, and office finds out, family finds out, and they can go and they can either call mom right away, they can run over there, they can call 911. Within minutes, they can enact the emergency alert system to respond, say if they are far away, right? And this is a very popular option for families that have loved ones on the East Coast and live on the West Coast, right, where they can't drive over, but yet it gives them that security blanket to know that there's a system watching in place to keep mom independent. Yet, should something go wrong, they're immediately able to respond and to I would say intercept any further issues.
Yeah, I think that's a great option for folks that maybe don't need a full physical person just yet, but maybe having somebody out there watching out for them. I think that's
just
a great
something
option.
in orbit, really. I mean, I know when I get older, if ever comes time I'm going to need care, I don't want somebody 24/7 around me, right? I completely appreciate and respect somebody not wanting somebody else in their home, right? Because it's their home. And so, these remote monitoring technologies and innovations that are coming out are really great tools, and allow somebody to maintain their independence and autonomy at a marginal cost to the care of having somebody there 24/7. And it really helps enhance the overall satisfaction of the client, the loved one, and care delivery.
I could see that. So I'm sure you see like a mixture of it, but do you think most people would opt for like kind of a combination, like having somebody in the home during the day to help them out with tasks, and then utilizing the AI technology at night?
That's what I'm so excited about this. The model of where we can go with this is that it can be that and any version of that. One of the things that we look at, especially, not everybody, right, has, trillions of dollars, right? And we went, and we got to stretch a dollar as far as it can go, more now than ever. And so the ability to layer in AI monitoring technologies, right, what it does is it allows us to get timestamps of when care has a highest need throughout the day. And so say if a family just runs with that initially, right, they don't even have a caregiver in the home, they just install the remote monitoring. It listens 24/7 for the times of need. And then based off those reports that we can see after, say, 2 to 4 weeks of the system monitoring the interactions, we've had systems, tell us, when families only thought mom or dad might need help once or twice, throughout the night, it told us, well, no, every night dad's falling 5 to 6 times every night, but dad's not going to tell you that, right? And so what it can do is, well, instead of having the caregiver in the home, say for 16 hours a day, because we just didn't know when they need care, that can be a weighty investment, right? Certainly valuable, but still expensive. Well, we can
Mhm.
tailor it now to just an 8-hour overnight shift because the AI monitoring technology told us that the frequency and need strictly occurs when dad is fuzzy from waking up, trying to go to the bathroom, and is up and down all night, and that caregiver can then be there as that aid to intercept any risk with falls or grogginess issues, and we're really isolating and driving value in a time of critical need.
Yeah, that totally makes sense to me. I heard a statistic a while back that the highest enrollment months for assisted living facilities is January and July. And the reason is because families are getting together for Independence Day and for Christmas, and they're realizing how much their loved ones have declined. And that's when they're saying, oh my gosh, we had no idea it was this bad.
Yeah,
So,
it's Q4, that really end of September through, say the first 2 weeks of January are our busy season. For that
mhm,
reason is that, the same thing, families see their loved ones and they see the decline from visit in the summer to the visit in the holidays, and they're like, uh-oh, we have to do something.
yeah.
And that's, yeah, right now and especially here in the Northeast with the weather and the change in temperature, that adds an additional complexity to it where it can further compound those issues.
Yeah, I think it's a necessity. I mean, I think it's great. People will need help. I mean, it's just it's a factor of life. We're not going to have the same bodies or minds as we age. So I think it's compassion at hand. You guys being able to come into the home and having the option to utilize technology to stretch the dollar. It's huge.
Yeah.
So if somebody was curious, I mean, we're here in South Central Pennsylvania, but I know you've got franchises all across the country. But if somebody was curious and wanted to have that consultation, how would they get in touch?
So the easiest way is to go to griswoldcare.com. We have a really, really great location finder on there. You can enter your zip code, your town, and you get a really easy to read map that's going to show you all the pinpoints where we have locations across 33 states, where you can simply reach out and give them a call right away from the contact information provided by that pin. And any of our locations would be happy to have a conversation with anybody that's evaluating care, whether needed now or in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. So 43 states, not all of them. So
33. We'll be in 43
all
eventually, but it's 33
right,
states.
my mistake, 33 states. So not all of them. If somebody was maybe interested in opening a franchise, how would they reach out?
Sure, they can reach out to me directly. My email is Matt@Griswold Care, and I can get them in touch with our franchise development team. I can speak to them about what we do. I lean towards more supporting our actively open franchise owners, but I'm happy to talk with anybody about the opportunity that Griswold has.
Nice. Okay, that's great. Well, I mean, obviously you've got a heart for compassion. Besides work and all of this, what do you do in your spare time?
Well, the spare time I have two little daughters. I have a 2-year-old and I have a 5-year-old, and so
Oh,
free time is spent playing with them. But whatever's left over, I have quite a bit of hobbies. I like to tinker in the garage. I'm a big car and truck enthusiast, so I'm always at the wrench. And my wife says you can't leave anything we buy alone, and it's pretty true. I always like to modify stuff, so doing that and
what's your
anything outdoors.
yeah, what's your current project? What are you working on these days?
Well, I have a Toyota Tacoma that I pretty much call it a glorified, you know, say glorified daycare, carrier for the kids. But I built it to take them on camping trips, and I got a tent on top of it. We go on road trips, and so whatever I can do to modify that thing to, I can go off road and enjoy my passion, but I can bring my girls along with me. That really is it makes it fun. And it also helps me rationalize to my wife when I buy something that, well, it's for the girls. So
That's the way to go.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love camping too. Where do you have a favorite site that you camp?
Anywhere I can. I've camped up and down the East Coast. Just recently camped out in Western Maryland on a guy's trip, but a little off-roading. So that it was a little more of a remote site out near Deep Creek. And the easy ones are up in the Poconos, just anywhere I can get up to, quick there and back with, a 2-year-old and 5-year-old kind of have short attention spans. And so you can't really go for a 5-day camping trip. So usually a single overnight and an hour up north is just what they need.
Yeah. I don't, I'm not sure what it would be for you. It might be more than an hour though, but Ricketts Glen is kind of around that area.
I've heard many good things about that place. It's on the to-do list.
It's amazing. Yeah. I want to say a 10-mile hike. It's a loop. So it might be too much for the 2-year-old yet, but I mean, it's just waterfall after waterfall.
Yeah,
after
that's
waterfall.
what I hear.
It's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. And
Yeah,
another fun one for little girls is Assateague Island.
We were just there. So we
Yeah?
actually, we took one of the big trip this summer was taking the truck down family vacation on the Outer Banks, but we stayed over in Assateague, and that was our second time there actually. And we took it out and drove out and drove the truck on the sand. Girls got to see the horses, and they loved it.
Yeah, it's so cool. Years ago, I went on the national side. You can have dogs in a very specific site. But anyway, I had my dog with me and we were on the beach. And one of the other campers found my family on the beach and said, the ponies are eating all of your dog's food at your campsite. They are like the Yogi Bears of camping. Yeah, they will break into your coolers and eat all of your food while you're on the beach.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I've heard that.
Too funny. So have you always been in Pennsylvania? Where did you grow up?
No, grew up actually in Central Jersey, in Bridgewater near Somerset County, and moved about 13 years ago, right about when I got to home care, moved out to Bucks County, and have been out here ever since.
Nice. What brought you to Bucks?
Work, really, just location with my now wife. We were like, all right, well, she worked in Princeton at the time, and coming down from Central Jersey, I got my coordinator job in Mount Laurel. I'm like, I'm not driving all the way I'm not driving from Piscataway area where I was living to Mount Laurel. So I'm like, all right, well, let's go live in Levittown. It's a nice equidistance between Princeton and where I got to be in Mount Laurel. And, it's haven't left ever since moving over here.
Nice. So 13 years in the making. You love it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We purchased our forever home up in Northern Bucks a couple of years ago. And, we sit on the ridge, so you can get about an 8-mile view, south, and surrounded by cornfields and old farms and animals. And so the girls love it. And I like the peace and quiet. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I don't want to be presumptuous, but you look very young to have your forever home already. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. Just turned 38 on Sunday. So, still got some years in the tank, I would say, but it's been really nice working in this world and be able to help people, but also be able to afford the forever home and the hobbies. And, that's, it's been a really good ride, and it's been awesome to build a life, but also to have impact on others' lives by doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of my favorite quotes from Zig Ziglar is you can have everything you want out of this life as long as you help enough other people get what they want.
Exactly.
And I wholeheartedly believe that. I try not to sell, I serve, even though technically my job is to sell real estate, but I'm really serving my clients. That's how I look at that.
Yeah, no, like-minded here, and what we teach too is relationship-based interactions. And so, you just need to be a resource and advocate for those in need or those curious about care, and everything else will fall into place from there, and you'll be wildly successful as a franchise owner here.
Absolutely. I love that. All right. Well, Matt, we told folks if they stuck around to the end, you would share the single biggest financial mistake that families make during this transition. So thank you so much for sticking around to the end. Take it away.
Sure. I would say families, primarily families don't know about home care a lot of times. They don't know the impact it can have, and they only hear about it oftentimes when they're sitting in front of a discharge planner at the hospital saying, hey, these are your options now based off your loved one's experience, unfortunately. And then they call us. And so I would recommend families, as you have a loved ones, start to age. Doesn't have to be declining, but just age. Educate yourself, because those that educate themselves save tens of thousands of dollars in preserving the quality of life in the home, and they're able to reduce the hospitalizations. And the average hospitalization, say for a Parkinson's patient, is anywhere from $6,000 to $17,000. Not in just what insurance covers. It's the costs outside of what insurance doesn't cover. It's the co-pays. It's the equipment. It's the additional medical equipment cost to outfit the home or retrofit it. All the additional costs. Now, families can save those tens of thousands of dollars by just starting to educate themselves. Once a loved one starts to get over 65, just inform yourself on the impact that home care can have and the options available within home care. So that way, families aren't stressed financially on the impact outside after those hospitalizations of the additional costs that come with it that people don't know about. Right now, imagine a Parkinson's patient, that has a fall, twice a year, $30,000 potentially, right? That could be spent out of pocket by the loved ones, right? That can put a lot of stress both on the relationships within the family dynamic and the reality of cost of care. And that's why we see pushes people a lot of times out of the home setting into the facility option because they've exhausted their financial assets in providing the care in the home, and they're left with no other options but to sell the home to free up that liquidity to further provide the care, but in a facility setting. And unfortunately, when we see that people pulled out of their home in frail states, it only further increases depression rates and isolation issues. And so that's where we say advocacy and education can save you tens of thousands of dollars and help you make better decisions and take advantage of opportunities available earlier in the aging process through companion care, through intercepting issues and risk mitigation through our home safety visits. And you can help somebody age in the place they love longer, just through simple education.
Yeah, being proactive. I'll tell you what, doctor visits are not cheap. I recently went to urgent care. I was in there for 15 minutes. 15 minutes, that was it. And I got a bill for $600. That was before insurance kicked in, but that's what it cost.
It's unfortunate. Yeah. And so that's really where, just that example alone, that can cover, a whole day, an 8-hour shift, potentially a 6-hour shift, or, 2-3-hour shifts across the week. Right. And so, just taking your loved one who got sick because they forgot to take their medication and now you have a $600 bill, right. Having, remote monitoring in place to just monitor them, to, have a caregiver in there a couple hours a week, right. That you can avoid compounded costs like that, but just having enhanced amount of support in place.
Yeah, it's really great information. So thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate you and everything that you and your caregivers are doing. You're doing real good for our community.
I appreciate it, Casey. I love what I do. My team does. Our franchise owners are fantastic, wonderful owners and entrepreneurs. And we really pride ourselves on the care delivery. And just to share a quick fact, I'm a data fiend, and I'm always asking our vendor partners kind of, how we rank with, when they pull our customer satisfaction of our clients and caregivers. And we work with a company called Activated Insights, where they reach out, we pay them to reach out to our clients and our customers, and almost kind of like JD Power, right? It's how happy are you with the services provided? Griswold this year, as a brand, has the highest rated satisfaction scores from both clients and caregivers nationally, versus all our competitors that are franchise home care providers. And we're really proud of that because we're passionate people, we're home care people here, and we love what we do and the impact that we can have.
Yeah, and it shows. Obviously, it shows in those surveys for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, Matt.
Absolutely.
So thanks for listening today. That wraps up another episode of Bodacious Estate Conversations. We'll be back with more great stories and tips soon. Bye.
Bodacious Estate Conversations isn't just chatter. It's about learning, taking action, and finding solutions that actually work. If today's episode resonated, share your thoughts, subscribe, leave a review, and pass it along to someone who could use a hand. More stories, smart strategies, and practical guidance are coming in the next episode. Don't miss it.